Hey guys, Stealth here, and welcome to One Military Camp. In this video we're going to have a quick preview about this game. What is this about? Why should you be interested? And is it any good? The key was kindly provided by the developers, and the game is going to be releasing in February 2023, so we still have a little bit of time ahead as of the date of this recording. Now, what is this game? This is a game where you're essentially doing a military city building. You're training your recruits up to become soldiers and eventually even commandos. You're kind of the last hope of the country. The evil forces of Dragan and his henchmen are taking over control of the land, and we need to liberate the place. So, let's set up a quick campaign and show you what this is about. Now, as you can already see by the graphic style, the game doesn't take itself too seriously. We're going to start off with arriving at this camp, where we're going to be met by the drill sergeant. I mean, every military camp has to get a drill sergeant, and this is Sergeant Hawkins. So, Sergeant Hawkins doesn't recognize that we are actually the new commanding officer of this camp, and because of that, he's being a bit harsh, and, well, he's not really paying me the respect that an officer deserves. As he says, the camp is a complete mess. It's going to be up to you as the player to fix that mess. Turn this decrepit camp into something that's actually functional. So, as the start of the campaign in this case, you're going to be looking at a bit of a tutorial. So, you're getting introduced by rotating the camera and stuff like that. Now, all of this terrain, and you can see it's a lot of terrain, you can use all of this to start building out your military camp. First up, you're going to have just a few buildings, such as a barracks. You're going to have a private house where the necessary amenities are. They just take up a lot more space. Because in a barracks you can store 7. Over here you can just store 1 person, that is. And over here we got the canteen so that people can actually eat. So, select the barracks, and we're going to get taught that you can have batteries, you can have power plants which are generating enough juice for the whole camp. And of course, that keeps the lights on. You're also going to be building out roads, making sure that people can actually get to places. And right now, the canteen doesn't only have an issue where it doesn't have power, it's also not connected to a road, and nobody is working there. So make sure that you have your buildings staffed. First up, we're going to provide this thing with power, and this ought to do that. I'm not going to go through all of the text because there is a lot of it. Now, at the entrance to the camp, you can start hiring personnel. This is the sergeant himself, John Hawkins, veteran soldier who's suffered a lot since he's been in the army. Willing to do whatever it takes to give back to his nation what has been taken from it. This guy, Hansel Poposki, and I think that these are constantly randomly generated, these guys have 4 stats: speed, strength, intel, and accuracy. You can train all of these up and make them better soldiers. You can also say, you know what, I don't want this guy to be trained as a private, I want to get this guy in as a cook. And that is what the tutorial wants you to do, so he gets turned into a cook, and he immediately gets assigned to the canteen. So with that, we're at least going to have some food. Now we need to make sure that the place is in functioning condition. And in order to do that, we're going to build a maintenance building. Now, as you can see over here, we got essentials. That is basically housing as well as a helicopter pad, and I'll get to that later. You got energy generator buildings. These can also be researched. That's why the lock icon is there. We got logistics, giving you logistics buildings for not only maintenance, but also storage for fuel, food, medical supplies, and ammunition. Various training buildings, and since you are in charge of training people up, well, you're going to be seeing a lot of different training buildings. Accuracy, comm specialist, tank driver. I believe that this is the scuba diver, and eventually you're going to get up to the commando, which I think is the knife. Health buildings, such as the infirmary and also physical therapy. Defense buildings, because your base can very well be attacked. Entertainment buildings to keep your guys entertained. And a lot of decorative buildings to get this camp just the look that you want it to have. Now, right now, all of these things are locked, simply because we're part of the tutorial. Now, this is when the game says, hey, you need to have one of these houses, otherwise the guys are going to be upset that they don't have anywhere to live. As you're placing these houses down, keep in mind, these people don't like to be living right next to a place where it's very noisy. You gotta make sure that noise buildings, such as the maintenance shed, don't actually park themselves right next to your habitat buildings, if you will. Right next to your barracks and your houses, because they generate noise and people don't like that. So, with this operational, I can now start to get a couple more guys in. And the reason that you want to get these guys is so we can start to liberate the rest of the island. This is the map of the country. Now the bad guy, Dragon, has taken over most of the territories, and as long as you start taking these back, you get more money, so more resources. With that, you can build more buildings, you can expand your sizable camp, and you can train up more guys. So in order to liberate these places, you're going to need the soldiers. And the soldiers are going to be trained to specific specializations before you're able to actually use them. Now let's have a look. We are here. This is our camp, and this is another province that we have available to us. You can see there is a lot to liberate. How you go about this is up to you. What order you want to do it is up to you. For now, stuff is locked, but it does show you that for this mission, save the cabbages, save the world. Again, the game doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's it's pretty fun like that. We need to have a comms operator and 2 artillerymen, and that is what we're going to get right now. We're going to get a couple of these guys in, and in order to make sure that they have food, we're going to get to building. Come on, give me that base. We're going to get to building and get these people something to eat. I'm not sure I can still get out of this menu, actually. There we go. That's the map. And that's the base. Keep in mind, I am running a private beta of the game that I was invited to. And some of the building, some of the tech stuff is simply not available yet. Where is the entrance? Here. It's simply not available yet. So it means that some of the tech tree is not filled out yet. Some of the buildings are not available to build yet. I think you cannot get all of the specializations yet. Then again, it's still 2 months from release, so it makes sense that it's just not there yet. There we go, we got supplies, the base can eat, and now it is up to the next objective. Making sure that we have fuel. Fuel is something you need initially to keep your generators running, and later on you can upgrade that to have a couple of solar panels or a couple of wind farms, and that will start powering your base. Now, gotta hire another maintenance worker. Right now, there isn't anybody available, but every now and then this little van shows up, and from that van, more and more people will show up. You can see that Sofia Ortiz over here has quite a high strength stat, which would be great, especially considering that maintenance requires that strength, as indicated by that little collar icon. So, she's going to get turned into a maintenance worker, and that makes sure that we have both the food and the maintenance done. Now we're going to move on to training buildings, and as we get training buildings, we're also going to be starting up the camp at large. Right now you're starting up with just the one, which is an intelligence building. You can build this basically anywhere as long as it has power and as long as it has a road leading up to it. Then we're going to build the strength building, and there the guys can go to do their workouts. Both of these stats are going to be required for different specializations. There we go. We got the right guys now. Or, well, we got some recruits that we can hire. And it is going to be up to you as the player to decide where you want to hire them. I can have this guy as, or sorry, this gal as a private. And you can see she has a pretty high intel stat, which would make her quite suitable eventually to go into a specialization such as the ComSpec, because that needs a higher intel stat. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Charles Moore. He's very lackluster, 10 all around. So I'm just going to have him turn into a private and make sure that he gets into the strength building. Alright, she is going to go not into the strength building because I don't want her to go there. I want her to go into the intel building. And as she's going there during her service time, which is during the daytime, she's on a daytime schedule. The nighttime she sleeps or she relaxes. She's automatically going to go into this building as long as you tell her to keep doing that. Eventually, she'll have reached a specific level of intelligence, I believe you need 60 points for that. And you can then start to specialize her. Comms operator needs 60 intel. Explosives engineer needs 60, I think it's speed. I guess to run away from the explosives. Artillery requires strength and infantry requires accuracy. Later tech trees or later specializations give you spy, aviator and tank crew, and you can see that the requirements for those are substantially higher. Eventually you're going to go commando and then super soldier. They need 90 in every stat, so this is going to take a lot of specialization. And of course these are absolute powerhouses later on in the campaign. Now let me fire up a save that I have going and you can see what a more developed camp looks like. Here we are. This is my more developed camp. I have a couple more specializations buildings. I have an infirmary. I have a physiotherapy building because one of my soldiers got injured. And I now have 24 out of 100 population in my camp. I suspect you can upgrade this later, this cap, or maybe research it because 100 seems a bit low. The tech tree has been unlocked and there are quite a lot of things to unlock. You got upgrades for the essential buildings, such as better recruitment centers, better canteens, better barracks, better private houses, different energy generating buildings, different logistics buildings, such as bigger fuel warehouses, ammo warehouses, etc. Loads and loads and loads of training buildings, like a ton of these things. Not only can you get to another building, you can also get a better tier of the same building. So from the basic artillery specialization center to the level 2, which increases training speed by a bunch. Health buildings, making sure that people recover from injuries quicker. They also have lazy therapy, they got insomnia therapy, physiological therapy. And finally defense buildings, because as I mentioned before, you can get attacked. And if you don't have defensive buildings, you're going to be in for a rough time. Now, a couple of my soldiers are currently having issues. When you see this, you can see, okay, they have issues, I need to address this. So in this case, Cheryl is working on speed, and this is to make sure that she can eventually get up to the spy requirement. She already has her 70 intel, so now I'm working her through 70 speed, making sure she gets that. I will not become better in my specialty with this activity. So she says, hey, I'm actually trained as a comm specialist, which means that this building is ideal for her. But in order to get her to the spy level, she's also going to have to get that other specialization. So with the soldier issue list, you can see what the issue is and what they need to get addressed. One thing I am missing in this particular menu is an overview of just my soldiers. Because when I click on all the soldiers, it also gives me my researchers, my medics, my cooks. I don't want to see any of that. So I'm hoping that stuff like this is going to get sorted out and they either add a new building or say just operational soldiers as opposed to support staff, for example. Maintenance staff, specialized soldiers. I mean, you can sort all of this out and you can also have favorite soldiers. So if you have, I don't know, Shinji Kobayashi, you can specialize or you can favorite him and very quickly get access to him. Once you have your soldiers trained up, you can send them on missions, and I currently have a few available. The problem is, I don't have the specializations to get these missions done. Because for this mission over here, it's a new frontier, I need an artilleryman, I have 2 of those, check. I do not yet have explosive engineers. So this is when those specializations are going to come in useful, and this is why you're training up your soldiers to become more specialized. The mission here requires another explosive engineer and 2 infantry. I simply don't have access to these guys yet. 2 comm specs I have. Sorry, I only have 1. So I need to train up another comm spec. Now once you have liberated one of these provinces, you can see that they have a bit of a bonus. You can get resources from them at a lower rate than you would normally pay elsewhere. This building here, I'm not sure what it does, could be a food building. The building here, checks on the beach, gives you 42,000, I believe. Yeah. You can get a loan from this, essentially. It's a bank. All of these provinces have different buildings that you can get, and with those you can make sure that you have the resources you need to get up to the next level. At this point, I think I have quite a bit. I have 76k, I have 444 research points, and I can always get a bit more from the bank if I require that. But also, by getting my guys trained up, doing the mission, I get 9500. Is this going to be enough? That depends on how you want to look at that, because just one research hub costs you 5300. So it is not cheap, these buildings. They do take up a bit of time, and well, a bit of money to build. So, I'm going to train up some more specialists, and we're going to go on a mission. After a few more days training and specializing, I can now go on a new frontier mission. I have a couple of artillerymen ready. We're going to send Sofia Ortiz. I also have 2 explosive engineers in the form of Joanna Petrov and Mr. Vincent Fadel. Now, the higher the chances, or the higher the experience that these guys have, the more your success chance goes up. My battle force is 251, they have a 180, I can get 10k out of this. You can start the mission. By doing that, the guys are going to go back onto the helicopter, and from there they will make their way to the mission, and you can see that the progress bar here slowly but steadily fills up. Once this is done, the guys are either going to come back or not, depending on how good your roll was. And of course, if you want to improve your chances of successfully completing a mission, you need to make these guys more specialized. You need to improve their training level, you need to give them a bit more time to train up. Now, speaking of training up, there are a lot of fun little animations going on. I hadn't paid attention to these yet, but there's definitely gone a lot of work into these animations. The guy over here is working on the tractor tire flipping, part of his strength training, as he is an artilleryman. Over here, Carla working on the machine gun. This is the area where we train up the explosives engineers, and frequently we seem to have mishaps with these bomb kits as they're working on them. Over here, nobody's going to do anything here. Yep, there we go. We got more working out happening in the strength center. I'm trying to train up a couple more guys, and as you can see, I didn't actually specialize them. So Mary is almost at 100% of her strength level. I didn't really keep that in mind, but I can instantly specialize her into becoming an artilleryman. When you have these specializations set, you can decide to either go for them immediately or just let them simmer, depending on what you need to do on the next mission. I can also say, you know what, I want to have 5 medals, or I want to have an instructor. That means that one soldier has to go on 5 missions, successful missions at that. So if you want to have an instructor, you better work with a favorite soldier that you're going to keep sending out mission after mission after mission. And then after 5 successful missions, you can have them turn into an instructor, which I do believe gives you a bunch of buffs. For now, let's just set her as another artilleryman. This guy is also ready to turn into an artilleryman. And from here, you can also turn them into other specializations later. So that's done. The mission should be coming along nicely. We're already at 60% completion. My money's going down a bit every day, minus 850, because I have a bit more going out than I have coming in. And I hope that with the liberation of another province, it's going to turn into another profitable day, especially as I'm going to be getting 10k from completing that mission. Let's see, anything interesting happening here? Yeah, this is this is the accuracy training room, where sometimes they just get knocked down by the amount of recoil. There we go. She's also ready to train up, so she's going to get turned into an infantryman. And you can see she immediately leaves the building and goes over to the infantryman training specialization building. But over here, they're just constantly taking down these paper targets. And as they do that, they slowly but definitely level up their accuracy stat. It sounds like we got a successful mission. Yep, 100%. We got a successful mission. We can retrieve these guys, and that is going to get me 10,500 bucks, which I can then use to spend more on buildings in my base. Now, these 3 question marks state that we don't exactly know if they all came back alive. She came back, and he did not come back. So my explosive engineer over there died. And with that, I'm going to be down 1 explosives engineer. I regret to inform you that we have suffered losses. Not everyone has returned from the front. Probably they've been captured and are being held in one of Dragon's dungeons. We're going to have to increase our efforts, bring back our comrades, and we'll make Dragon pay for his insolence, you'll see. Now, these two seem to be coming back fine, but she has a bit of trauma. And this is something you will need to address. So in order to address that, you're going to have to see to it that she gets her psychological therapy. So we're going to unlock that. Build another medical building. The psychological therapy building. Get a bit of road running there. And have the nighttime medic get assigned to that building. I don't need to have my medical buildings staffed at night strictly, because most of my recruits are going to be sleeping anyway. Yeah, we're going to be looking at increasing our power output. There. And now I should be able to assign that soldier, Joanna. I can now assign her to a treatment center, and the game is going to show you can only do that there. This is the only building that will satisfy that need, but it doesn't have any power. So let's fix that. We're going to bring the power from here to there. And now it has another overload. This is just a save that I'm using to show you guys the game. So I'm not specifically working very hard to make this thing as aesthetically pleasing as possible. There's no staff working in the building. You're going to go to a daytime routine, and then she's going to get treatment. Now, like I said, a lot of features not yet implemented in the game. A lot of things are still being worked on behind the scenes. So if you're looking at here, a couple of the training buildings not available in this version of the game. They're going to come later by the time that the game is released. If you want to know more about the game, if you want to have a look at it at the Steam page, if you want to highlight it, wishlist it, and maybe eventually buy it, you can do so through the link down below in the description. It'll take you to the Steam page. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think this is a fun game. I'm not very big on city builders, but this thing I really quite enjoy playing. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, and I look forward to seeing what you think of the game. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more videos.